तुषाराद्रिसङ्काशगौरं कबीरं मनोभूतकोटि प्रभाश्रीशरीरं स्फुरन्मौलिकल्लोलिनी चारुगङ्गा लसत्फालबालेन्दुकण्ठे भुजङ्गा.
A warm welcome to all the devotees on Raksha Sutra English. We are going to narrate wonderful holy stories to all the devotees from the book Miracles of Love by Ramdas Ji, an exclusive devotee of Maharaj Ji. Please listen carefully, all the devotees. Under Maharaj Ji's blanket, the way in which Guru and devotee relate to one another varies immensely from devotee to devotee. In the holy books, it is said that a devotee might see the Guru in the roles of father, mother, child, friend, master, lover, or God. And there were devotees who saw Maharaj Ji in each of these ways. But the essence of the way in which Maharaj Ji's Indian devotees felt toward him is perhaps better captured by the word Baba than by the term Guru. Baba can mean grandfather or elder. It is a term of respect used with either an older person or a spiritual person. The sadhus or wandering renunciates of India are usually called Baba, and so is the old street cleaner. Its softness and familiarity better capture the quality of the play between Maharaj Ji and his devotees. For some of them, he was seen primarily as the grandfather of the family. The fatherly affection he would give can't be gotten from anyone else. For others, their Baba was their dear friend. When you love somebody, you play anything with them. That's what I did. I never thought differently. We would travel together often and just talk about this and that. For many, he was a wise advisor. I would just come ask him my questions and go. To some, he was just another saintly sadhu. He was just an ordinary Baba. He would come often and we would give him a little sweet or a glass of water. He would sit on a bare coat and we felt so much bloated with pride because we fed a Baba today. My family has always had saints like Maharaj Ji connected with them, but for many he was a guardian angel, as if from another realm. While with him I always felt protection from anywhere, from all things. Maharaj Ji picks us from one spot and places us at another. Whenever we feel difficulty from any ordeals in our life, we always remember him. Then he always helps us, either directly or by giving some strength to others to help us. And for some, God, whoever had his darshan even from behind is saved. Maharaj Ji is the Havan. Havan means sacrificial fire, accepting and burning my karma. He is beyond anything you could say of him. You see, he is God. That's of course who he is. All these categories are too specific. Really, for most devotees, he was now one and now another of these, or he was all of them. Quite simply, he was their Baba. I didn't care about his miracles. I only knew that he was my Baba. One woman never thought of Maharaj Ji as a great saint with powers. He said that he didn't have them, so she believed him. She thought of him as a saintly, good and kind person who gave her love and affection and peace of mind. Her husband thought that Maharaj Ji was God himself. In Maharaj Ji's presence, both of them would forget their problems. I have never been afraid of him, never. It was not out of fear of him that I was tense and alert around him, but out of fear for him. For instance, if you have a flower garden and are caring for it, you are not afraid of the flowers, but of the horse and the cow who may trample or eat it, or of the gardener who may forget to water it. I was afraid, you see, that someone's carelessness might cause him inconvenience or pain, like your mother would feel if you came home from school and she was not there. She would worry about who would feed and take care of you. It was like that. Among the Westerners, there was also considerable heterogeneity in the ways of seeing Maharaj Ji and being with him. Although many of us had extremely intimate relations with Maharaj Ji, nevertheless, the more formal term Guru, with its emphasis as a vehicle for spiritual liberation, would seem a more appropriate label than Baba, because Gurus were not commonplace in the culture from which we had come. We tended to invest more heavily in the Guru mythos. We didn't particularly want a grandfather or another friend. We wanted God, or at least a divine intermediary. And that's how most of us saw Maharaj Ji. In these quotations, some differences among us become apparent. One Western devotee speaks to another. I didn't need to be around him a lot. It was okay for everyone else who had to be around him constantly. I think that my traveling with you was good because you were a perfect complement to me. You had to be near Maharaj Ji. You had to sit at his feet. You had to pick up every little detail, hear every little story, and I really loved that. It was really beautiful. But for me, all of that got in the way. That was not what I needed. I just needed the essence, the seed, the feeling. I remember one day we had eaten very well, as usual, and we all napped afterward. But there was a feeling of what the Sufis call baraka, means blessing or spiritual power. When we woke up, we were disoriented, but it felt so delightful. A lot of the real work for me was in that feeling I got after coming and taking prasad and relaxing. It was in this way that I experienced the actual baraka or blessing taking place. I was crying all the time because Maharaj Ji wouldn't take me to him inside his arms into the temple and fly me up into the sky. After that first contact with him, I became extremely eager, almost crazy to be inside his blanket. So I always tried to bargain to find some way that I could get him to take me, and I realized very quickly that there was no way to do anything that could make him take me. I never felt that the birds were really important. The true Guru is within, and Maharaj Ji was a manifestation that I needed to see in order to understand that truth. Because of the longing for him and the sense of being in the presence of my own divine holy godmother. I always felt Maharaj Ji to be as my mother. Maharaj Ji was like the Ma for me. Maharaj Ji's relation to God was totally internal and subtle. It was just so fine to be who you are, to be yourself. The playfulness was so infinite, the heart opening so wide. In the following comparison between the behaviors of two of the devotees, another dimension of difference becomes clear. When devotee A was in the temple, it was predictable that if any Westerner were allowed near Maharaj Ji, he would be the one. There was no limit to the ingenuity he employed to remain in Maharaj Ji's presence for every possible second. If Maharaj Ji told people to go away, A would be the last to leave and then might go immediately around the back of the building, pick a flower off a tree, and arrive from the other side, as if he were just arriving for the first time when others were being told to go. He would often hide so as to avoid being included in the expulsion edict. It developed into an elaborate game in which Maharaj Ji was a participant. A was a master of his game. He seemed to have a special sense that told him where Maharaj Ji would be any moment, and he managed to be there waiting. Others tried to compete in this game, but none approached as totally one-pointed or, depending upon how you saw it, totally selfish behavior. Others were hampered by guilt or compassion for others, feelings which, if mentioned, elicited only an uncomprehending look from A. Devotee B was an entirely different story. If Maharaj Ji sent us to help in the kitchen, B would remain peeling potatoes long after others had given up and drifted back to Maharaj Ji. He would stay until the last potato was peeled and then look for more work. Although he had been trained as an attorney in the United States, his service and humility at the temple were so outstanding that soon he was in charge of kitchens and storerooms. He remained in the temple performing the purest service for 5 years until he was evicted by the government. No job was too menial, and there was no evidence of personal pride about his humility nor any effort to get attention for his work. It was truly as if he came closest to God through his service. He hardly ever came near Maharaj Ji, and when he did, it was usually only to touch his feet and then go back to his duties. Devotees like A often infuriated other devotees because they seemed to be monopolizing Maharaj Ji, while devotees like B aroused respect and sometimes guilt in others. Yet intuitively we knew that each in his own way was a pure devotee, and Maharaj Ji obviously loved them both. As varied as were all the ways of seeing and being with Maharaj Ji, so were his reactions. He responded to each according to his or her capacity to absorb in the infinitely changing nature of Maharaj Ji's behavior. Each person found what he or she needed because his stud now where he was like a mirror showing each devotee the Baba or Guru that they projected. Often with one act he fed simultaneously the desperate needs of a dozen devotees. Who can say with these saints, they are like the sky? Maharaj Ji's mind was completely clear. He would seemed to have no thoughts, only that which Bhagwan means God believed would come into his mind. Like a cloud it would come and then vop. Oh, such action that thought would produce, and again like a cloud it would pass. His mind was always clear. Under Maharajji's blanket, stories is long, so further stories will be narrated to all devotees in next episode. To listen the wonderful holy stories of Maharajji, please like, share, subscribe the channel, and don't forget to ring the bell icon and write in the comment box Jai Neem Karoli Baba Ji Maharaj and Jai Ramdas Ji.